Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar on personal statement writing. So my name is Ariel, and I'm going to be the presenter of today. We're still waiting for a couple more attendees to join in. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it several more minutes before we officially get started. So meanwhile, sit back and relax. We're going to begin shortly. Thank you. Okay, and for the students who are currently here, can I get a quick show of hands of your year level? Are there any rising seniors here? You may raise your hand, with your raise hand function, any rising senior. Okay, what about rising junior? So grade 11 students, okay. Okay, and then what about grade 10 students? Okay, so grade 9, so young. Okay. So it's good. Getting prepared earlier. Okay, I think we're just gonna go ahead and give it like 20 more seconds, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so thank you very much for being here with me today on a Saturday. So my name's Ariel, and I'm gonna be the speaker for today. So yeah, actually today's webinar, the content is gonna be very heavy. We're gonna be talking about two main personal statements that you probably need to write, for your US and UK application. And we're gonna be mainly tackling the UCAS personal statement for the UK and also the Common App statement for the US. So brace yourself, it's gonna be a content heavy webinar, but then either way, we're gonna go ahead and get started because yeah, we have a lot of materials to cover. So before I officially get started, I would like to briefly introduce myself. Once again, my name's Ariel, and I'm the Global Head Counsel of Millie. And with that said, I basically oversee the University Guidance Department of the company and assisting students in terms of, finalizing their university choices, working on their personal statements to all the way, making the final decision as to where they want to go for university. And before I found Millie, I was actually an in-school guidance counselor for 2 IB World schools in Hong Kong, including my very own alma mater, the United World College branch in Hong Kong. So yeah, definitely it was a very good experience, working in school and, understanding different school profiles. So if you have any questions, not just about personal statement writing, but also, basically how to strategize the university application in general for overseas universities, or like, just selecting your majors or anything like that, feel free to ping me after the webinar as well. And then I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So on to today's presentation, actually, we're going to be focusing on two streams, with the first one being the UK and then the second one being the US. So we're going to talk about, how the different, how the personal statements between the two countries are different from each other, and then what you should be writing about in respective statements. So let's go ahead and get started with the UCAS first. So in terms of some facts about the UCAS personal statement, you need to know that there's only one statement that you need to write, and which is a great news, for the students, because in terms of the workload, it's not nearly as heavy, as the Common App one. So one statement for a maximum of 5 programs in the UK, and that's basically your entire, application. So it's actually quite, manageable in terms of workload. And then you have to understand that for the personal statement in the UK is actually very academically oriented. So in terms of the content distribution or the ratio, I would say that 80% should be about your academic qualities and 20% about your extracurricular activities. And with that said, the word count is actually extremely important in the UCAS personal statement, because if you go over the line count and the character counts, you won't be able to submit your full essay. So in terms of the character counts, actually it's going to be 4,000 characters with space and punctuation. So with that said, actually, that doesn't mean that you have 4,000 words to play around with. It's 4,000 characters. So each letter would count as one character, and then the spacing and the punctuation, etc., they all count towards your character count. So if I have to convert it back to word count, that's around 600 to 650 words, depending on your usage of words. So it's quite a short essay, I would say. It's not like, over 1,000 words, but then there are definitely a lot of different information you should be including, in your UCAS personal statement. And then we're going to get onto it now. So there are 4 integral parts, of the questions that you need to answer in your personal statement, with the first one being the reason why you're interested in your chosen major. So this arguably is the most important question that you should be answering in your essay. So that means, what make you or what spark your interest in this particular major of your choice. Some students might be telling a story, about their first encounter of the content and why they ended up liking this particular subject, and wanting to dig deeper into that particular discipline, right? So you have to have very specific reason. And you have to also really show your interest, not telling me that you're interested. So a lot of the students would begin with something like, I'm interested in this major because, so that would be a little bit more ordinary way of starting it. Not that it's not okay, but then you would probably want like a spark to be like really outlined in the first paragraph of your entire essay, so as to grasp the attention of the admission officer of your respective university, right? Okay, so this is point number 1, and that should be, your first paragraph. And then the second paragraph actually should highlight your academic potential. So in terms of, the actual content that should go into it. So imagine you answer the first paragraph, by saying that you're interested in this particular major because of a particular reason, or because of several different factors. However, now that I know that you are interested in this particular major, can you also highlight to me the reason why you think you're good at this major? You can be good at this major. That's a completely different question to answer. So with that said, actually, you need to showcase to the admission officer your academic ability, which means why are you capable of handling this particular subject at a university level. So a lot of the students, they struggle to show that they actually have the capacity and the capability to actually study the subject well, because they are not sure what type of content to include. So we quickly developed like a method, I like to call it the 3-step proof process, that you can actually utilize to outline and really explain why you think you can be good at this particular major. So the first part would be identify the relevant subjects in your particular area of interest. So think about it. Say if you're interested in engineering, right? So there's no such subject in high school that is called engineering. So how do you show that you can actually be a good engineering major? What are some of the relevant subjects you think would be related, to engineering? Can I see some of the answers? You can use the chat room to type in your answer if you would like. For engineering, what are some of the relevant subjects in high school that you can take? Anyone would like to give it a try? Okay, so I see answers like physics, math, chemistry. Absolutely, yes. So even though there's not a particular subject called engineering in high school, you can find relevant science subject and quantitative subjects, like math, to point towards engineering as a major and the necessary skill that you need to excel in that particular major. Okay, so that's part one, identifying the subjects first. And then part two, what are the transferable skills you manage to get, from these subjects, right? So what that means would be, so now you have identified physics, math, and chemistry as the relevant subjects. Then can you tell me what are some of the transferable skills you manage to get from these subjects? So it could be the fact that you get quantitative analysis skills, being a mathematician, and that basically give you the skill needed to analyze question in a mathematical way. And with that, it's also highly relevant to engineering because basically as engineer, there are a lot of data that you need to consider. And then at the same time, you need to apply data to like the particular project that you're working on, for feasibility studies and things like that. Right. So yeah, with that said, you can definitely see that these are the type of transferable skills that could be extremely relevant to you as an engineer, and that would derive from your relevant subjects. Okay. And last but not least, you need to also show how these subjects or how these skills are relevant to your desired major. So for example, just outlining the skill is not enough. So just say, oh, I have the quantitative analysis skills. Not enough. Why is quantitative analysis skills important, as an engineering student? Right. So, say if I'm a law student, then I probably don't need quantitative analysis skill. So you need to show me the direct linkage between the transferable skills and also your desired major. Okay, so once again, identify the relevant subjects and then identify the transferable skills that you manage to get from these subjects. You don't just like a lot of the people actually skip part two and then just say that, oh, this is my relevant subject. I study math at school. That's why I can do engineering in university. I don't see a particular linkage in the middle. So you have to tell me exactly what skills you manage to get from the subject and how are they relevant to your chosen major. Okay. So now, like the third part, it's going to be your personal and academic qualities through extracurricular activities. So for that, the activity is actually not the main point. So you still probably need to figure out what are the activities or the involvements that you currently have that would link to your major. So say if you play football, at school, it's not particular relevant like an activity for you to include if you would like to be an engineer. However, if you chose a major, it's sports science, for instance, then you playing football would be an extremely important, activity to highlight, something like that. So even though you have like extracurricular activities elaboration in your particular essay, keep it short, around 20%, remember we talked about. And then through that 20% of the, explanation, you also need to link it back to your academic qualities, okay, and how it's relevant to your chosen major. Okay. And then lastly, the reasons for choosing the country of university destination. So this would be a very good ending actually for a lot of the international students, just because, you can probably study the particular major, somewhere else in the world. So instead of UK, you can also pick Canada, US, etc. What's a compelling reason for you to choose UK as a study destination, and why is it important to you? You can use that as a particular wrap up, for your particular statement. And then some of the other alternative ending, it could be, do you have a particular career, or like do you have a particular goal that you would like to achieve after graduating from that particular major? That would also be another good way of ending your essay, just thinking about how you would like to utilize the knowledge that you gained from the undergraduate major. Okay. So that's basically, before we move on to the Common App essay, that's basically the essentials, of your UCAS personal statement. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions popping up in the Q&A yet, but then please be reminded that, if there's any questions that come into your mind during the middle of my presentation, you can feel free to pop that into the Q&A chat room, and, I'll try to address them as I present the slides. But then if not, I would also open the Q&A floor once again at the end of the entire presentation. So you can, feel free to ask questions then as well. Okay, just, one last time, any questions on the UCAS personal statement before we move on to the US? Okay, so let's move on. So in terms of Common App statements, so some facts. So what exactly is a Common App personal statement? So it's a 500 to 650 word essay all about you. So most of the students, they tend to use all 650 words because it's already a pretty short essay. And with that said, actually, this one Common App essay is the essay that would go to all of your Common App schools if you do apply to more than one school via the Common App portal. So this is an extremely important statement that you really need to take the chance to show the colleges what makes you unique. So how are you exactly going to do that? So you need to, basically use this as a qualitative type of document that would distinguish yourself from other students who might be equally capable as you in terms of, transcript, So like your grades and like test scores, like in terms of SAT, ACT, there are a lot of students, especially if you're aiming high, there are a lot of students that would be achieving the same level of academic performance as you. So in order to distinguish yourself from the rest of the applicants, you have to have a really good personal statement. Okay, so the reason why we focus on Common App today is mainly due to the fact that Common App has the widest university coverage, out of all destinations or out of all the other remaining application portal, that the US colleges also use. You can see that Common App actually cover over 800 schools versus, very similar portal also used by a lot of US colleges called the Coalition App. They only cover around like 140 schools, and Universal App, only 18. And many of them actually have overlapping, universities that are using the portal, as an application system. So which means, if you can find it on Common App, chances are you can also find it on Coalition App, Universal App, so on and so forth. So if possible, I always ask my students to try to stick with Common App because it has the widest coverage, and then probably you wouldn't want to get caught in this situation where you need to open a lot of different students' account in different application systems. Okay, and then one special one would be the University of California application, the UC app. The UC has a total of 9 different campuses, including the really worldwide, well-known campuses like UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, etc. So here there are 9 campuses in total, and you only need to submit one application, and then you can pick a maximum of 9 campuses. So this would also be a very good university application to fill out, and that's going to be 4 essays of 350 words each on a completely different topic. So they're not Common App prompts, they run a completely different system, but it's still one application to nine campuses type of application system. And last but not least, for every single school that you apply to in the US, actually they require a supplemental essay as well. With that said, actually, like say if you're hoping to apply to Cornell University, for instance, on top of the Common App statement, you would also need to write two additional statements called the supplemental essays, and they're specific to Cornell admissions. So the same essay would not be used for other universities' application, and you would have to complete other essays as required by other universities. So as you can probably tell by now, the number of essay does add up. If you need to, like, say, apply to 5 different colleges, chances are you might be writing 10 essays, for all of these applications. So don't procrastinate and remember to start your essay writing game early. Most of the students would start around like grade 11, summertime, if they can, or even like, earlier. They start brainstorming idea earlier. Okay. So let's see, some of the prompts, that actually would exist in the Common App prompt collection. So actually the first one deals with background, identity, interests, or talents. So actually, this one is the most popular one, I would say, among the 7 prompts that they give you to choose from. And this is also very popular among international students because they always have a very interesting cultural background to share. And if that seems like, your type of essay, or if you have a personal story, personal anecdote to tell, I do think that this would be a great one for international students. But you just probably have to think about like a good like angle to cut in so that it's not going to be sort of like a cliche, that makes your essay the same as everyone else, who are applying internationally. And then number 2 deals with challenge, setback, or failure. For this particular prompt, it's actually quite interesting because a lot of the students, they like to say like a failed test or like a competition that they've lost in and things like that. However, I think they're trying to look for something a little bit more life challenging. So I'm not undermining obviously like failing a test, in your perspective could be something that is like really important to you and also change you, a lot. However, I think, as compared to other students' potential challenges, I think they're looking for a little bit something that is more difficult to overcome. So if you don't have anything in particular, any like big obstacle like that, in your life in general, I suggest to not select this as a prompt. And then number 3, this deals with like a time when you question or challenge a belief or idea. So this is actually quite interesting because, this is about bringing changes, whether or not you want to change the status quo. So some students, may be coming from like a particular country where like there are a lot of different things that they wanted to change or wanted to do better, for their community or for their society. So I think, this is a good time to leverage this particular prompt. But then once again, if your experience or if your personal encounter does not fit this particular prompt's idea, you don't have to choose it. And then this is the 4th one is actually a new prompt. Reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. So this is about expressing gratitude and also coming to a reflection or realization afterwards. So it probably needs to be something significant as well, for you to derive some further understanding from it. In that case, I think it would be better for you to, try to outline something that someone has done for you with special meaning, to your case or to a greater good. Okay. And next, this deals with accomplishment, event, or realization. So this is the complete opposite as the challenge, setback, and failure that we saw earlier in the last slide. And for this particular prompt, the focus is actually not telling the admission officers about your accomplishment. This should be like the first 20%, of your essay, just quickly, describing and really outlining the level of accomplishment that you managed to achieve, in this particular incident outlined in the essay. However, the subsequent part deals with like a period of personal growth and self-realization and new understanding, right? So that should be like, so the lesson of this particular accomplishment is the key to this essay. It's not like, oh, you're bragging about your accomplishment. This is not the main point of this particular essay, but more like, what have you learned from this experience? Okay. And then number 6, I would think that, this is the closest one to like academic topic that you can choose. If some students really want to focus on like an area that they're really passionate about, it doesn't even need to be like extremely academic type of content, because it just sets topic, idea of concept. But some students who are more academically focused, they would use this particular prompt to outline their academic, type of exploration as well. So yeah, this is also an interesting one, not as popular as the previous ones, especially when it says, oh, what or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? So if you didn't do anything outside, of your comfort zone to try to dig deeper into the topic, idea of concept, then I would also advise to not particularly select this prompt. And lastly, prompt number 7 actually is a topic of your choice. So if after looking at the previous 6 prompts, you are still unsure about which one to choose, or you still think that none of the previous 6 prompts are covering what you're hoping to write, you can definitely pick a topic of your choice or write about like a something that is completely different. However, don't pick it for the sake of picking it just to look special. Make sure that you're actually like describing something that is very important to you as well, and don't just pick it so that it would stand out in front of the admission officers, because I've seen a lot of like students who had chosen this as their common app topic. They ended up producing a statement that could easily be fit under any other previous 6 prompts. So only pick this if you think that whatever you're trying to express cannot be captured by any of the previous 6 prompts. Okay. So now on to personal statement creation timeline. So this is always one particular slide that I like to stress on, because students, I was a student once, and I know that I like to procrastinate a lot. But then this is really not the time for you to procrastinate, because as you can see, all of these statements, they have particular requirements. They also have particular questions that you need to really answer. Content and materials that you need to accumulate. You need to brainstorm, reflect, generate insights, and polish your ideas into well-crafted essays. All of these, it takes time to accomplish. So it's not like, okay, I'm just going to do it the night before I submit. I have seen students who are actually doing that. And, not that the content didn't come out really well. However, I just think that it could be better. It could be, even more refined if we're just giving it a little bit more time, So I would think that generally students would use 6 weeks to craft their essay, especially the important ones like the UCAS one or the Common App main statement, because these are the most time consuming ones to write. You would like to showcase the best of your ability, and I do think that for a lot of students, 6 weeks would be a minimum to achieve that level of refinement in their writing. So the first week, you should focus on reading successful personal statements online and see what students normally write about. What's the style like, because UCAS and US essays, as you can tell, they're already very different. So I would probably look up successful personal statements from each country online and just try to get a sense of how you should be organizing the content for each essay as well. And then for your Common App, you can start brainstorming several topics that seem interesting to you, that you would want to write about, and you probably don't need to start writing yet. Just pick and choose several topics and start brainstorming idea and see what would fit under which prompt. And afterwards, in week 2, you can narrow down the list of topic and just pick one. Don't try to attempt to write drafts for every single one of them. Some students do that. However, I think it's quite like a time-consuming process, because ultimately that you're only going to be picking one. It's okay to just brainstorm the content. It's another level of engagement if you are to type out your entire essay, just to see how it looks to you. So I would think that from the 7 prompts, choose around 2 to 3 that you really like, and then just narrow it down to 1. And you can then, focus on brainstorming content and materials and ideas for that particular topic. And then week 3, you can already start writing a rough draft of your essay. For this particular rough draft, don't care about the word count yet. Just keep writing. Write all the thoughts that you think could be relevant to this particular topic, and just try to organize them in like a raw way. And no need to be extremely conscious about the style of writing either, and the structuring of the essay. Just the content, focus on writing it all out, and bring it to your students, mentors and teachers that you trust. Have them look over, and they will be able to tell you, especially someone who knows you better, they would be able to tell you, oh, what are some of the content that you're missing, from this particular essay draft, or what are some of the parts of the content that could be taken out, because after all, you only have 650 words at the end of the day. So if you don't know what to take out, you can also ask the opinion, from your teachers and tutor. Now, week 4, revise your essays, based on the comment and suggestions given by your peers and your teachers, and just try to show your essay to like a, close family member and a personal friend, and ask for feedback. You want the content to be extremely personalized, and then, it's probably the best to turn to your closest parties, for feedback and comments, and read more successful statements to get more ideas on how you should be improving the structure and the style of writing, the vocabulary, of your second draft. So this is also a very important process to polish, your statement further. And then week 5, probably at this point, you can put aside your essay a little bit more, and then maybe after 2-3 days, come back to it and have a look at it again. Maybe you would start picking out grammatical mistakes and spelling mistakes that you didn't manage to pick up, in the first few revisions, and just try to pick out these mistakes earlier and try to correct them. And further polish your essay by maybe restructuring some of the parts of the content. Maybe in the first paragraph you can tell an even more compelling story. You can change out some of the vocabulary to avoid repetitive statements. And then in the last week, once again, show your close to final draft to a teacher and mentor for final feedback, correct any last mistakes, and now your essay is good to go. Just upload your personal statement onto the college application and get done with it. Okay. So just to sum up, some do's and don'ts for your personal statement. So do discuss transferable skills that you have learned in your class or ECA, especially in your UCAS personal statement. And even for your US personal statement, show the content, not tell. Not, oh, I am very confident. Use a story to show me that you're confident. Okay, and then do check your work carefully for grammar, choice of words, spelling, terminology, especially if you're applying for pre-professional majors like medicine, law, UK versus US spelling. If you are to apply to both destinations, you probably should check and convert the US spelling to the UK spelling. It's not like you're spelling it wrong, but then if I am from the UK, I'm the UK admission officers, I would probably like to see spellings that is the same as my home country's spelling. And do make sure that the statement is about you. I've seen a lot of the draft, students would say something like, oh, my mom is my inspiration, and my mom did that, and she is very amazing, things like that. And before you realize, this particular statement has become your mom's personal statement. It's not yours anymore. So for this, I do think that it's worthwhile to take a look at the content again and make sure that the statement is all about you. And in terms of the don'ts, don't give me a laundry list of the classes and activities. A lot of the students, they submit their personal statement to me like it's like a resume or like a CV, listing out all the awards that they have received, the leadership positions. Once again, this is tell, not show. If you're telling me that you have done this and that, it actually doesn't help me to evaluate your application. And let alone, there are also spaces in your application form that allows you to plug these information in. So don't waste your time and effort and word count outlining these positions and awards. do that in actual resume, but then for your content of the personal statement, do make sure that it's qualitative. And don't lie or copy information, in your personal statement, because they do check for plagiarism. And if you lie about your experience, when it comes to the interview part, you would have a hard time explaining your way out, if the interviewer started asking you about the content of your personal statement. And once again, do not procrastinate until the very last minute or last second, and don't submit it too late, because there are oftentimes technical glitch in the admission portal. Especially the closer it get to the deadline, the easier it would, for a technical glitch to happen, because there are going to be many students submitting the application last minute. So try to submit at least 3 to 5 days in advance, and make sure that you start working on your essays way earlier on. Last but not least, you don't need to use overly long or fancy words. This is good news, for the students, because I see that they oftentimes try to incorporate like really challenging, really difficult synonyms, like of words that could be much easier to explain. And to me, I think it just makes the statements really difficult to read and understand. And the admission officers, they read thousands of statements, every year. So they're not going to take the time, to check the dictionary, or like just try to ponder or what you're trying to express, with this really, really long sentence. So it's all about keeping your ideas engaging. It's all about presenting your content in a very easy to digest way. So don't try to, use very, very fancy words. Just try to keep it real, keep it about yourself. Okay. So yeah, that concludes our presentation today. Now I'm opening up the floor once again to questions, on both UK, US personal statements, or even, just on general university applications in general. Any questions? And if you think that, your question is a little bit too personal to ask, out in the open, you can also, just scan the QR code on the lower right-hand side of the screen and sign up for a one-on-one consultation with our mentor as well, so that you have like a, private meeting just to discuss, some of your questions as well. Yeah. Yeah, and actually, for this, I think it's like an hour later or something like that. Yeah, actually it's precisely 1 hour later. We also have like another webinar on Millie's Guide to All Things NYUAD. So if you are interested in applying to NYU Abu Dhabi, we have a panel, just a little bit, but like, I think it's 40 minutes, from now. So actually you can feel free to sign up. Our host has just sent out the Eventbrite link here. So if you're interested in learning more about like the study experience in NYU Abu Dhabi, we've invited panelists, graduated from NYUAD at different time points, and they are all going to be gathering to discuss, their experience at school, how's the admission process like, and, basically anything about NYUAD. So yeah, do reserve yourself a seat if you're interested. And once again, any last questions before I end today's webinar? Okay, I don't seem to see any questions popping in. So like if there's anything, feel free to shoot us an email or link us or just basically send us a message on WhatsApp. I look forward to, meeting you guys in a private setting. And yeah, hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and I look forward to seeing you in our future events. Bye.